So next up is this Honda Civic on this routine maintenance slash diagnostic journey. It seems like everything I've been covering here lately is routine maintenance, or diagnostic work. We have this Civic that has an idle issue. We are replacing the valve cover gasket. It is leaking pretty badly when the car is actually running. It's just, you can see actually the stream and you can see how bad it is. So we got that we're going to be doing. And we're going to install new camber arms in the rear that the customer provided. What the customer has done so far, he's replaced the intake manifold gasket twice, new intake manifold with throttle body, changed the map sensor, changed the PCV valve, he adjusted the throttle cable, and a new IAC valve was installed, idle air control valve. So right now, if you can hear the fans are on because we have one of our scanners hooked up really quick in the key in the on position. So it's reading it. Car did have a check engine light, so we're pulling the check engine lights really quick. And we have an O2 sensor circuit low. We have an idle control system malfunction. And we have a knock sensor issue. So we're gonna dive into this one. I'm gonna turn the key off here. And as I turn the key off, I accidentally hit the stop button. And what I was gonna say that I forgot to mention was when we popped the hood, we saw that he had a wrench in here, so that will be back in his passenger seat. And we got some random stuff that's been replaced, so we're gonna collect all this stuff off the cowl too, and we're gonna put it in the bag for him, put it on the seat for him. We're gonna get to work on this one. We're gonna go over some basic stuff, see what's going on. We're gonna note everything we find. Battery terminals are tight. You don't know how many cars have battery terminals loose. It's unreal and can cause a bunch of issues. So we're gonna check over the vacuum lines. We're gonna let it warm up, and I'll be right back. So we're going all over the vacuum lines. We're starting with all the basic stuff. That's where you want to start with. We're also making sure like the grounds are good. They don't have to be cleaned. Just basically a once over right now. We do see some stuff that necessarily might not be an issue, but you can see how this doesn't have a clamp on it, and there's a little bit of a space. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick it up. Yeah, you can see that. So that's just not good. Start the car here, let it run, and we got a surging idle. So we're going to do our next step, which if you watched my videos before, I actually showed you before how to check and what I'm going to do here. So basically we're going to get it to surge, and what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to spray around any possible vacuum leaks, which do not forget, a lot of people forget this, around the actual injectors. So right here, if those are leaking, you will have a vacuum surge. So you can kind of see there's some, it looks like he's got the seal in there. I couldn't tell if it was pushing out. My camera does not want to focus today, and I got the bigger light that's harder. There you go. But yeah, let's start this thing up. So you can hear that the idle is high, and now it's starting to hunt and surge. So all you want to do, you want to take any can, could be brake clean, could be starting fluid, any accelerant, and just spray around the vacuum source. Which I lost my little nozzle thing, so give me 1 second. So I got my little tip here, and we're just going to spray around the injectors. And we're looking for the idle to change. And then you can go around vacuum lines, go around throttle body gaskets, and then the intake manifold gasket. There you go. So as you heard the idle change, basically what's happening is that vacuum leak is being closed up by the brake clean, and it could be any accelerant. It's going to go in the motor, it's just going to burn off, but that's a good, quick, easy way to find a vacuum leak. And you saw how I was precise with it. You just don't want to take it and just spray everywhere, because you know, you want to pinpoint the actual problem. He had the intake manifold off, I think it said twice, and he actually bought a new intake manifold. So something could be going on besides just the intake gasket leaking. You know, it could be just installed improper. Could be intake manifold that's warped or wasn't tightened down correctly. So we got that, and I'm sure in the video you can also hear the clanking around inside the head, it sounded like. We're going to document, we document how many miles are on the car. We're also going to recommend a valve lash because of that noise, if it hasn't been done recent. And that's pretty much it. So, and the other stuff too with the codes, it's got the IACV, idle air control code. That could be because it has a vacuum leak. The NOx sensor code shouldn't be causing an idle surge like that. The O2 sensor code, give or take, if the air fuels are not where they need to be, and of course if it's sucking in air that's not being monitored by the map sensor, it's never a good thing. What I'm going to do though really quick is I'm going to pull the spark plugs out. That will also tell us a good amount of how this motor engine has been running and how the maintenance has been on it. So I just pulled out one spark plug really quick. It looks like it's been replaced fairly recent. There's no oil on this one, at least. It is an iridium plug. These do not require iridiums, but and we always tell people just go with the OEM specs. There's no reason to go with any crazy or different plug if it's not needed. You're just going to be spending more money. So I'm going to thread this one back in. We'll pull the other ones out for the heck of it, because it only takes 2 seconds. Just make sure everything looks good too. You know, that can tell us a lot about an engine, a cylinder. You know, if it's down a little bit, maybe in compression, or if an injector's acting up. So I'm going to pull the rest out really quick. So we got the other spark plugs pulled out, and you can see I purposely kept them in this order so I know exactly what cylinder they came out of. You know, let's say I pull them all out together, not look at them until I get them all on the bench, and one of them is just bad or looks worse than the others. Well, we're not going to be able to pinpoint which cylinder that came out of, and you know, maybe he's having a spark issue, ignition related issue, or an injector issue. So put these plugs back in. The other thing I will mention really quick about the idle air control valve, if you don't have a vacuum leak but you have a surging idle, or you're you know, curious if your idle, maybe you even have a low idle, or your car doesn't want to stay on and you want to see if the idle air control valve is working. If you take this piece off the inlet, the intake pipe, there's going to be 2 holes in the throttle body, and those 2 holes will be on the outside of the throttle body plate, and that is how the IACV, idle air control valve, sucks in the air. So you could put your fingers over those 2 holes and it should be actually sucking pretty decently, to a point where you can actually, it kind of will hurt your fingers. If you're not feeling anything, that could be a troubleshoot, where if you're having a low idle, maybe your idle air control valve is just not working like it should. Maybe it's clogged up. They have a little screen in them sometimes. Besides that, you can always check the wiring. The idle air control valve has, usually, not on all Civics, but they have a two-wire plug that also can connect to the intake air temp sensor, which is right over in that area. There's also a power steering plug, I believe, that's right over in that area. So, you know, if you're having an idle air control valve issue, or a code more so, make sure that you got the right clip in there. And the best way to find that, for us at least, we have the OEM Honda manuals, so we can actually get the pin out of what color wires should be going to the clip. Same thing that I mentioned in the other video about how the TPS and the map can get switched around. Well, the wires are different colors, and that can help you, you know, to check that. I just wanted to give an update on this one because we did have a few people that asked about it. I think we had it in 2 videos recently. So everything went well on the dyno. We did have a small little issue. So if I say this car is loud, that would be an understatement. It is beyond loud. So I'm actually surprised that I heard it. Shut the car off. It seemed like it was getting louder, so it was definitely a concern. We disabled the spark and the injectors, and we were able to crank it over and see if we can hear the noise. Took the valve cover off, double checked everything underneath there. Everything looked fine. We isolated the sound more so coming from the starter area. This is where it kind of gets a little weird. We put in a brand new starter. The customer informed us that he went through, I think, at least 3 starters before it came here. Long and short, it was a starter. And since the new starter only had probably about maybe 15 cranks on it, if that, we called up our vendor and we basically explained what was going on, and we said, hey, we installed it ourselves, and the install was just fine. They warrantied it for us, and in this case, we try to help out customers as much as we possibly can. We didn't even charge them to replace the starter again. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, some shops may charge for something like that. Some other shops may not. As I said, we help out as much as we possibly can. It necessarily wasn't our fault that the starter went bad. We don't know why it went bad. He could have something ultimately going on in the flywheel area, but long and the short, and like I said too, we try to help as much as we possibly can. This doesn't mean we can do everything and anything for free type deal, but this situation we were able to, so that's a plus. Besides that, it made good power for the setup that it's rocking. I think that's about it. I'll insert some video footage of it, of doing some pulls, and like I said, when I say this car is loud, it would be an understatement. The people next door can hear us. Our neighbors, 2 doors down, showed up and wanted to see what was on the dyno. They said it sounded so rowdy. So it is, it's beyond loud. So one thing I wanted to mention really quick here, and we don't have a car here because it's actually on e-tuning. So if you're not familiar with e-tuning, I do a lot of e-tuning. I support a lot of different cars. And basically what that means is I can tune your vehicle over the internet. Either you're on a dyno elsewhere and I'm doing it remotely like that, or we're sending files back and forth in an email. The one thing I do want to mention is when customers pay for an e-tune, there's still that level of standard, even though I don't see the car's not in front of me, that you still have to ensure your car is 100% good to go. Of course, it's always harder to find a problem or know that we have a problem when I am, many states away, where I don't have the car in front of me, of course. So it is very important. We have the dyno checklist. You go back on YouTube and find it, or shoot us an email. We can send you a dyno checklist for free. It is very important that you still follow this. Even though the car's not here, of course I want the car to be 100% at the end of the day. So if you have small little issues that I will not see in person, it's going to cause issues down the road. So highly important. And of course, if you're interested in getting your car e-tuned, you can comment down below or shoot me an email. It's rcautoworks@gmail.com. But it's just one of those things I did want to mention. And it's, yeah, there is, I have certain steps that we do in the e-tuning process, and it just ensures that everything goes 100%. You know, it's not one of those where you pay and then we're just sending you random stuff. We're in contact with you back and forth. We ask you questions. One of the questions, it's a simple question, is, hey, when have the spark plugs been replaced last? We ask that because we want to know. And also, we've been seeing a lot of issues where the primary oxygen sensors are getting old, lazy, tired, and they're not responding how they should. So I've actually covered that too in a couple of my videos. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera, I don't have my tripod. I've covered that in a couple of videos where, you know, if we're doing the e-tuning, that primary O2 sensor is highly valuable because that's all I have to go off of. So just something you guys don't see, and that's behind the scenes and that we offer here. So the RSX is over back on this side. We're tightening up a few things, and we're tightening up the inside, cleaning up the inside, because before it even got here, there was so much stuff on the floor. The ECU was just laying on the ground. We tucked that away for them. We want people to get inside their car and enjoy it and not have to jump in a pile of junk. You can see too, we put the battery terminal in. We give you back all your old parts. We show you what we replaced if we can. If a part is super, you know, oily or leaking antifreeze or something like that, we're not going to, of course, put it back in your car. Once we take a part off, it's still your part. Some people will ask, well, can I get the old part back? 100%. They're not our parts. They're your parts. So at times we do forget. You know, we're not perfect. So if it's ever something that you wanted back and we forgot to give it back to you, just message us or give us a call. And was just informed, we got this car in here too. We got to do a radiator job on it. And just informed that the radiator we ordered is literally bad out the box. So now it has to get sent back. We have a video of how we diagnosed this car too, and I'll insert it in here. We pressure tested the coolant, the filler neck, and it was just bleeding from the radiator over here. But yeah, so something that you also don't see behind the scenes is we don't always get the right parts, number one. Number two, sometimes the parts that we do get are bad out the box. It's a crappy situation, not only because we want to finish a job up, now we have to wait and figure out when these parts are going to be here. We have to update the customer. We always try to give a customer a projected time frame of when it will be done. I mean, this one is out of our control, but we will give a customer the call, update him as soon as possible. Right now the guys are on the phone trying to get another radiator here. The radiator is actually part of the condenser as well on this system, on this car. So, and it is not cheap since the condenser is built in. So I'll see if I can get that video of the new one coming in and putting that in there, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about.